Hello friends, I'm so glad that you clicked on this video today because I've been out in the craft cottage creating for the TDS collaboration. Brandy from the DIY Struggle sent a few of us YouTube creators some of her beautiful products to create with, and we're going to collab and we're going to show you how to use those beautiful napkins that she created herself that she has for sale on her website. Let me stop talking. Let's get crafting. These are just some of the beautiful napkins that Brandy sent to me in my box that I'm going to create with today, and some of her amazing transfers. Now, these little embellish pieces, wood pieces, she also sells on her website. We may or may not use them today. We'll see. The first project that we're going to work on, we are going to use this beautiful napkin. And you can see that there are 4 images on each napkin, and she's done a beautiful job with this. It's absolutely gorgeous. But the first thing that we need to do when decoupaging with napkins is take off those layers, the plies. These are 3-ply napkins, so you want to make sure that you get all 3 plies off. Ask me how I know. Yeah, project number 2, you will see. So we're going to just gently tear it off, and we're going to save that white part because it makes for nice little napkins when you're dry brushing. So I'm just going to take this wood round that I had in my stash, and they sell them on Amazon. I'm going to take a water pen that I don't know how to put the water in, and I'm going to just rip the edges to fit the top of this wood round. Now, once I get all of this paper off and I get it the size that I want it, then I'm going to use the iron-on method. If you're not familiar with that, just hang around because it's my favorite, especially when using napkins because the napkins are so thin. I sometimes struggle using Mod Podge with it. I'm going to clean up my mess with my little tabletop vacuum, and yes, love how that fits. Now I'm going to take Mod Podge, and I'm just using a lid, that I didn't throw away because we don't throw away anything around here. And I'm going to put a nice even coat, thick enough but not too thick, just right, like Goldilocks. And we're going to put it on here in an even, just so that it's even and smooth. And then we're going to set it aside and let it dry completely. Give it some time. Let it dry completely. You can dry it with a heat gun, but I feel like that makes it a little more sticky. So it wasn't feeling like I could feel the Mod Podge on top of the wood round, so that's why I had my fingers crossed that it works. I'm going to use a little parchment paper on top, not wax paper, parchment paper, and a heat press. This little mini heat press, you could use your household iron, just do not use steam. Make sure it's nice and hot. Rub it gently. You can press some pressure, but don't be rubbing hard like you're ironing your jeans. And it just sticks on there beautifully. Look how beautiful that is. Now we're going to make a little riser out of this. But first we're going to seal it up with some clear wax by Dixie Belle. And that's just going to keep our napkin all nice and sealed in and not get all scratched up when we put something on our little riser. We're going to put some little feet on it. And what I chose were these little apples that came from Dollar Tree. Do not know why those stems are so long. I've had these in my stash for a very long time. You could use the little snowmen, the little Christmas trees. You could use anything for feet, beads. But this is just what I had in my stash, so this is what we're going to use. I'm going to grab some paint in the color of my choice, and I'm going to just use this little sponge brush and just dab it on there and get one good coat of paint. It doesn't have to be really good. It's pretty close to the color of the natural wood anyway, so it's going to be really easy. And I poke it down in that little styrofoam so it's easy to get them to dry. Now I'm just taking some needle nose pliers, and I thought I could pull those things out of there, but those things were not coming out, I'm telling you. So I just basically broke them off, took my little finger sander and sanded it down smooth so that I would have a flat surface to glue to the bottom of our wood round. Now this is the bottom, and I decided I needed to seal that paint up, so I'm taking some dark wax and I'm just going to seal those little feet. We're going to call them our little feet, our little bun feet. And we're going to glue them on with some Titebond Quick and Thick. And this project is complete. This collab is hosted by our friend Brandy over at the DIY Struggle, and she has created these beautiful napkins, and we are all going to create some beautiful decoupage DIYs. So I want you to go down and click on the playlist in the description box below and check out all these other fantastic content creators. And if you are here on my channel from one of their channels, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Now, let's get back to crafting. I'm going to use the Always This napkin. It's very romantic, very beautiful, and I'm going to cut it all up into pieces and use it on this little riser. This was a bed riser that I got in a pack on an online auction, and the same with this little furniture foot. And I just took the little screw out, and we're just going to make a little tiny riser out of this. And I couldn't decide if I wanted to use the top or the bottom of this, and so I decided to use the top since it has that little ledge. See, I really like the way that looked best, but I wanted it to have the little ledge so if I put something on it, nothing would fall off. Yeah, my friend Leanne likes to say we have analysis paralysis. So I'm going to take some white paint and paint just the inside of this so that when we put our decoupage paper down, that brown won't show through, and this will help give us a nice solid background for that to go. I'm going to dry it with my heat gun so that it's nice and completely dry, and I tried to not use the iron-on method. Yeah, count your layers. Count your layers. I was trying not to use the iron-on method, but it really didn't work, and you're going to see how it didn't work. So I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do here and how I'm going to make these little dancers be inside this little riser. And so I ended up cutting them out and then cutting I just cut the napkin up into 3 different pieces. And you're just going to see here how I did it. I used the water method to kind of rip that because I'm going to layer it. So yes, you can cut your napkins up and layer your decoupage. So then I just cut out the part of this background. This looked like a background to me. So this is going to be our background. I'm going to use my X-Acto knife to cut it so that it fits right down inside there. And mine doesn't fit perfectly inside there when I get finished, but it works. It looks fine. And here you see, I go to all this trouble. My X-Acto knife needed a new blade. You'll see me later switching it out. But I go to all this trouble and it still doesn't fit perfectly. But you know what? It fits good enough. Because you get things from the store and everything doesn't match up perfectly. So nothing is perfect in this life. Only Jesus was perfect. And thank goodness that he was the perfect sin sacrifice for us and gave his life for us. So he makes us perfect. Okay, I'm using my little saran wrap to do this little method, and remember, I didn't get all the plies of napkin down. So when I'm trying to smooth this down, I had like tons of air bubbles, and I was like, why am I having all these air bubbles? And it was because there was a sneaky little layer of napkin behind there, and you're going to see me trying to fix it. Maybe I'm on the second part of it. I was trying to fix it and trying to fix it. I ended up scraping it all off and starting over. Did I already show that and missed it in here? No, I'm about to show you. I'm about to show you how I'm trying to fix it, and you can see that it's not wanting to lay down. I keep trying to put Mod Podge underneath there, and I keep trying to put it down, press it down, I'm just getting, I'm just making a bigger mess. So make sure, my friends, that you get all those layers. See, there's that, it's in between those layers. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work. The air gets in between the layers. So I scrape it all off. We're going to start over. We are going to start over. And I do end up doing the iron-on method. So I give myself a good coat of Mod Podge on there. I let it dry or dry it. I watch a girl that does watercolor art and she says, let it dry or make it dry. So we made it dry. And then we are going to use the iron-on method. I didn't think that my little heat gun would fit in there, but it did. Now for this, I'm going to just use the Mod Podge. So I put it on the back of the piece of napkin and just gently laid it down and tapped it, because that background is already on there from the iron-on method. It's kind of stuck to my finger a little bit. Okay, tap. My brush is wet with Mod Podge, not soaking wet, but wet. I did that with both those little pieces, and now we're going to glue these two pieces together with the Titebond Quick and Thick. And that's all there is to this. I thought about putting some black chiffon ribbon around the neck of it, which would actually be really cute, but I didn't. But that would be an option. And I went ahead and sealed up the top of it with, I'm getting off the excess glue that oozed out, and then I sealed it up with Mod Podge, and this is done. This wooden spoon set has been in my stash for quite a while. I picked it up a few years ago at Ross for just a few bucks, but today we are going to transform it using the Verdant lace napkins from Brandy's collection. These are 18 inches long, so they're pretty big. They're not super thick, but they are not flimsy or cheesy. So we're going to give all three of them one good solid coat of white paint, front, back, sides, and let them dry completely. Now once it's dry completely, we're going to decoupage this beautiful napkin onto here to transform them into some beautiful home decor. I'm going to, first of all, take off these sneaky layers. Now we want to be sure we get all three plies, so we're going to use this little piece of tape, stick it down on there, and get it all off. You can see me. I guess I thought you might need to see this several times in this video, but here you go. And again, we're going to keep those white pieces because we can use them to dry our paint brushes. We can use it for dry brushing, or you can blow your nose on it if you need to. So let's line this up and see where we want this design. I thought I just wanted to put this little bouquet of flowers right in the center, but once I got it all torn out using that wet method, I didn't really like the way it looked. But we are not going to waste this beautiful napkin. I've saved this to use in a project another day because this was hands down absolutely my favorite of the three. See, I didn't like all that white background showing, so we set that aside, grab that napkin, and we're going to cover the entire ladle part. I don't know if that's what you call that part of the spoon, but that's what I'm calling it. So I'm going to use some Mod Podge. I'm going to put it in this little lid, and we are going to cover the entire bottom part of this with one good, nice, even coat, making sure that we get it all the way out to the edges, but not dripping over the edges. And a nice, even coat. We're going to let that dry completely. Give it enough time to dry completely. And then we're going to come back in with our heat press. I have a little mini heat press. Well, let's line up our image exactly where we want it, right there. And a piece of parchment paper, and I have a little mini heat press. You can use your household iron, whatever you need to use, and let it cool just a little bit so you're not going to burn yourself. And then we're just going to remove the excess paper, however you choose. If you want to sand it off, you can. I did not want this to be rustic, surprise, surprise. But I used a little pair of small scissors and then just ironed down the edges to seal it. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do that without using sandpaper. The sandpaper is going to give you a little bit of a rough edge. It's going to remove some of your paint. You could always go back in and, you know, touch that paint up if you want to do it that way, but this worked very nicely. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now let's work on the knife. We're going to do just the blade on this. We're going to get those sneaky layers off. I love the way Brandy calls them sneaky layers because, yeah, that third layer can be sneaky. So let's do the same thing. I know this feels a little bit redundant, but you just put your coat of Mod Podge on there. The iron-on method is hands down my favorite, especially with napkins because they are so thin and fragile. I'm so afraid when I get that Mod Podge medium on there, I'm going to tear it and rip it. And I don't particularly love wrinkles when I'm Mod Podging. Certain projects, it's okay, but certain ones I don't like. So I'm all down for the iron-on method. So we're going to do that same iron-on method with the knife. Going to let it dry. We're going to remove it. I decide I'm going to just cut away the excess, and I'm determined to use that X-Acto knife. And I finally realized that it just needs a new blade. You'll see right about here, I'm like, it's just ripping my paper. And so let me just grab that little box of X-Acto knife blades and replace it. It's super easy. You just unscrew the top, pull the old blade out, pop the new blade in, and voila. Just be careful when you're disposing of your old blade in the trash that you put it in something so when you reach in and smash down your trash, you don't slice your hand open. Okay, let's trim this off. Yep, see my new highlights there? It's all nice and blonde. You're welcome. And then the edges will be nice and smooth. We're going to go ahead and seal those down just like we did on the spoon. And then the knife is finished. Well, the Mod Podge part is. Now with the fork, I just decided I was going to do the top and have some of those pretty vines just kind of hang down over the tines of the fork. So the wooden tines. So I just traced out where I wanted it to be cut and I just cut it out. That's what I did for the fork. And I didn't want to really cut this piece of the napkin up. You know, I could have just cut it and it would have been easier to cut. But I didn't want to cut it up in too many pieces because I wanted to keep as much of it whole as I could for my next project that I want to use it in. Now I'm going to put the Mod Podge on the back of this, and I have to be very careful because it's very fragile. Now I have this silicone mat that I'm working on, so when I dried it with my heat gun, it stuck and it was like peeling glue. Like, you know, when we were in elementary school and we put glue all over the palm of our hand and peeled it off. Okay, don't act like you never did that. Leave a comment down below if you did that when you were in elementary school. Okay, same method, iron-on method, iron it on good. Now, whenever we get this ironed down, I'm going to take the X-Acto knife and trim out that napkin that is in between the tines so that it looks all nice and professional and crisp and beautiful. And then it looks like those little vines are just kind of draping down and cascading down. Now I'm going to style this fork in the center of the three pieces because it's the different one. I'm going to take the Oil Wax by Sweet Pickins and I'm just going to wipe it on with a chippy brush and then wipe it back with an old piece of cloth. But this did not really achieve the look that I was going for. I did it to all three pieces and it did darken it up a little bit, and I will compare when I finish the spoon. I will compare the spoon to the fork to show you the difference in the color. I wanted a little bit more dimension. I I was hoping that I could have gotten some brush strokes in with this, but this is a new product to me, so I was just kind of experimenting with it. I did go back in with the dark wax by DIY and darken the edges and put a few lines of the dark wax in the handles. And then I did not get on camera how I embellished it, but it will be very obvious to you because, you know, we're all crafters here. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned crafter, it will not be hard for you to tell what I did. I took some ribbon and some crocheted lace and just wrapped it around the neck where the decoupage paper meets the painted part on the spoon and the knife, and then on the fork I just put a little piece of crocheted lace, and then on the top of the fork, on the handle of the fork, I did put a ribbon so that it just ties all three pieces together. My last project is not a napkin decoupage, but it is using these beautiful transfers that Brandy sent me, and I really wanted to showcase them. So I'm going to take this gray and white paint, mix it together, and I'm going to use this little, I don't know if it's a serving tray or a cutting board or what it is. I got it at Aldi a couple of years ago on clearance, and I'm going to tape off what I don't want to paint, and then I'm going to use that gray, that light gray, very light gray. I just mixed a little of the dark gray in with the white so it wasn't so stark white, and we're just going to give it two coats. I gave it one thin coat, and then when I dried it down with my heat gun, I did not do the sides, only the top, and then when it was completely dry, I picked out, I pulled the tape off. That's what I did next, pulled the tape off, and we have these beautiful stripes. This is a very trendy look. I was showing you the instructions that Brandy sends with her beautiful transfers and this little scraper tool that works great. These transfers transfer down so quick and easily. It's just like magic to put them on. So I'm going to take these little florals and just piece them together, cut them up until I get the look that I want. And you can see here what I'm doing. See, you can just cut them up. You can leave them the way they are. However you need it to work for your project. They're very versatile. And I love the simplicity of these and how they worked well with the simplicity of this cutting board. I'm calling it a cutting board. Of course, we are not going to want to use it for a cutting board now that we've got these beautiful transfers. We're going to use it just for looks. I think it would be pretty also if I were to cut out someone's name and personalize it with my Cricut, and on the black part put you know, someone's name or personalize it for them for their kitchen for decor purposes only. But I think this turned out cute, and it might actually be my favorite DIY of this video. So let me know in the comments down below which one of these was your favorite. We're going to seal this up with some clear wax, and this one is going to be done. Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Be sure and give it a thumbs up. Drop me a comment down in the comment section below. Even if it's just an emoji, I like to know that you were here. But most of all, I want you to remember to be still and know that He is God.